Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Torin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular ladder battle, I will be playing the Warriors of Chaos, and I'm going to be facing off against an Empire opponent. So, a quick rundown on my army composition. I have a front line of Chaos Warriors who are armored and shielded. These guys are a great front line against the Empire, in my opinion. They have extremely high armor at 100. They also have the shielded against Empire missile attacks, and as you guys can see, he did bring handgunners, and that's pretty common, whether it be handgunners, crossbowmen, any of that type of stuff. You'll usually see those in most Empire compositions. So these guys make a pretty solid front line. They have really good leadership as well, especially if you keep one of your lords nearby. And usually I like to keep like a Chaos Lord or where is he? My Exalted Hero nearby who has that Encourage ability and will give your troops a slight leadership buff. So pretty slow. That's definitely one of the problems with the Chaos infantry, I guess, or most infantry in general. But for some reason, Chaos just feels slow. But again, I guess that's compensated for in a way by the Forsaken, who actually have 48 run speed, which is extremely fast. But regardless, they're they get there. They get there and they do the job usually. So they have decent melee attack and pretty good defensive stats across the board. So I feel like these guys are just a really sturdy, decent front line against the Empire. Behind them, I usually bring Chosen, but I got some feedback from you guys and was also watching some replays of some high-level games, and I saw that a lot of Chaos players had started to opt to bring the Chaos Warriors with great weapons, again, for their armor piercing and to give the real punch of their army. And I feel like the money you save in getting these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, as well as Forsaken, I feel like that's enough damage there between those two groups. Whereas if I had opted to get Chosen, I may have only had two groups of Chosen and wouldn't have had these extra Forsaken padded in here. So, or at least less of them. In terms of leadership, I have a Chaos Lord. He's rocking the double potions. As Chaos, just to be honest, I have played a lot of games with Kolek and Archaon, the Never Chosen, but unfortunately, when I play with those guys, they often get sniped out, especially against the Empire. If I'm playing like Dwarves or other factions like that, I don't mind, getting the more alternative heroes. But, with this Empire matchup, you really need to have the potions to survive. I also have a Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Fire. As far as my spell selections there, I would advise just getting the Cascading Fire Cloak, the Flaming Sword of Ruin, and the Fireball. The other spells, the Vortexes, and all that kind of flashy stuff, I haven't found it to be that great in competitive games, but granted, it is fun. So if you're trying new things out and want to experiment with it, by all means, go for it. But just my personal opinion, I feel like those are the three spells that you need to bring. And then, of course, I have the Exalted Hero here, who is pretty good. And usually I like to roll with this group of three here with the Chaos Lord, the Hero, as well as the Flame Sorcerer, or the Lord of Fire, the Chaos Sorcerer, the Flame Sorcerer. And they kind of roll in a pack. So if he decides to dive bomb my Lord, I can retaliate pretty hard with those three units. So also in the back, I feel like Chaos Spawn are a pretty good investment against Empire. Empire usually does bring a lot of infantry, and they're pretty good against great swords and things like that, though it doesn't look like my opponent brought any, but regardless, they're pretty good at, taking out infantry. And something I like to do is these Forsaken have 48 run speed, and these Chaos Spawn have, 42. So they make a very, very good shock formation. What I mean by that is when you first engage the opponent, you come in head on with this group right here. So this front line will engage and kind of just, tie up the front line. These guys, you can react to his secondary line. So whatever he decides to do with any auxiliary troops, and it doesn't look like he has that in his formation, but if you see he's sending a Lord or some other troops anywhere in your front formation, you plug up with these. And then this third line back here of Forsaken, I use them in conjunction with the Chaos Spawn and the Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Fire to just shock part of his line. So, for example, I'll overload very heavily here and use the run speed to get a full flank and get into his back line. Because with this current formation, it's going to be hard for him to react to that. Although he does have Demogryph Knights with Halberds who will make short work of those Chaos Spawn. So we'll see how well he uses those. And that's pretty much it for my army composition. As far as my opponent goes, he has a pretty good army composition here. He has Halberdiers who are armor-piercing and anti-large. So often Chaos, they do bring large units from time to time, whether it be a Giant or Chaos Spawn or other things like that, or Trolls. So it's not a terrible choice. And they do have armor-piercing, which is good against the standard infantry. He has Spearmen, just basic fodder infantry. They don't have the shields. Again, you don't usually need that against Chaos. So he definitely made a wise choice there. More Halberdiers, 2 Demogryph Knights with Halberds. And then he has a backline of handgunners who are armor piercing, so definitely a good choice against the Warriors of Chaos. And then he has an Empire Captain with looks like quad potions. So not only does he have toughness and healing, but he also has the other two that I actually don't even know what they do off the top of my head because you never see them. Then he also has a General of the Empire with the 2 standard potions, and he has a Light Wizard here. So it looks like he has Nets of Amnitalk as well as a missile attack. So he's going to be trapping some of my troops. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So again, I advance. As Chaos, you usually don't have a choice. So you just kind of want to get in there as fast as possible and just minimize the missile fire you take. So you guys can see I immediately path my troops into the front line there just to kind of close the distance as quickly as possible. And it looks like he's swinging his General of the Empire and his Light Wizard out. So that was probably because I forgot to mention I do have a group of Chaos Warhounds. So these guys are great because it's just a constant nuisance in the back of your opponent's mind. I'm just kind of doing laps with them here. And my opponent, it looked like he was moving out to deal with it, and then he quickly realized that it was probably a waste of time. So I think he just ignored them. But regardless, you can see that they're going to get pretty easy access to this back line. So I'm a huge fan of these guys for how cheap of an investment they are. And they're also a great supplement. So if you're attacking an elite unit, for example, with your cavalry versus theirs, and you supplement it with the Chaos Warhounds, the speed reduction as well as the attack reduction is going to make the difference in that battle, and it's going to be very strong. So regardless, I'm pulling my Forsaken, as you guys can see, with the Chaos Lord over here, and I'm going to be pulling the Forsaken as well, because I want to overload this flank and really do a lot of damage here. So, and he's positioning his Light Wizard here, so it seemed pretty clear that he was probably going to do Nets of Amnitok on my Lord, and then try and swarm him with his leadership, which is very common. That's something that you see a lot. So he does trap my Lord and then comes in hot with that General of the Empire as well as that Light Wizard, trying to cheese him out of the game, which is pretty common strategy. And also those nets are pretty good. It ties down my troops here, and they're just taking additional gunfire. So in the back line, though, I do get the Forsaken. They get a nice little rear charge here, and they're going to tear these spearmen to pieces. And over here in this battle, it's pretty even front line. The Chaos Warriors are slightly superior infantry in my opinion, though he does have the armor piercing with those halberdiers. So it's going to be a pretty good battle over there. I do get the Chaos Hounds in the back here, and they're going to get a nice little charge on these guys, and they're definitely not happy about that situation, and those handgunners are taking serious losses. So finally, the nets do dissipate, and my Chaos Lord actually gets away and gets a potion, but I'm able to pull in my troops here and retaliate heavily. So I'm able to get a surround on that Light Wizard. Those Forsaken are very fast, very high damage, and they're able to get there quickly to react. So this Light Wizard is definitely going to meet the end of his days, and it always feels good to get the Empire when they dive you like that, if you can get a nice surround with these Chaos units. We're pretty quick. So again, I overload that flank and use that speed, because he had most of his troops over there, and I was able to come around here pretty unimpeded, and these Chaos Spawn are just going to rip through these lines here. So definitely not a good situation for my opponent, but he does pull his Demogryph Knights over here and gets a nice flank on these Chaos Warriors. But regardless, I had plenty of troops over there, so I wasn't terribly concerned. And he does land his General of the Empire. It looks like his Empire Captain among these troops. But regardless, this is not where you want the Demogryph Knights to be tied up. These Forsaken are, pretty decent fodder infantry, and the Demogryph Knights don't really have any, huge bonuses against them. And I have the Cascading Fire Cloak for the armor piercing as well as the melee defense. So this is a pretty optimal situation for me right now. I was definitely happy with the way this battle was going. And over here, these Chaos Hounds are still just running amok. So every time I engage, I pull them back, and I'm just cycling them between his units. And this shock group that I sent around the western flank over there, they're now just doing laps in his back line, and that's causing morale hits on all of his units, and it's just doing a lot. So, and of course, you can see the Chaos Warhounds supporting them there. So definitely, he sent his Demogryph Knights in the beginning out and around this way, and I immediately reacted and just ran the other way, because I don't mind these Chaos Warriors getting rear charged. They're pretty durable. They have high armor, and they can survive for a while. So I just wanted to get that shock in his back line with those Chaos Spawn, because again, I didn't want the Chaos Spawn getting tied up by these Demogryph Knights. So at that point, most of his troops had collapsed, and the Demogryph Knights didn't really do the best job there. They didn't have that many great targets, to be honest, other than the Chaos Spawn. So a bit of a tough investment there. As far as the army breakdown goes, look how many kills that group of Forsaken had in the back line. 154 with the 57 on those Chaos Spawn, and those Hounds had 72. So for 475, I'm getting massive, massive value out of that. And that was one of the issues with bringing the really expensive Demogryph Knights, is that there's not always a lot of good targets for them. I like to just bring a group and then maybe supplement it with some Empire Knights, which would also allow you to spend that extra 600 or 700 on some additional infantry to keep behind your missile infantry. Again, having that one big front line, it's nice for not getting enveloped, but at the same time, you don't have any support in your back line. So if the enemy forces are able to penetrate or circumvent, you don't have anything to back you up in your missile line, like you guys saw. 0 kills here, 0 kills here, 6 here. They totally just went out the window as soon as I was able to circumvent his front line. So just my thoughts on the matter there. But again, good game to Midnight Falcon. I really appreciate you guys watching, and thanks for the support. More content coming soon, and I'm actually going to be posting some quest battles So if there's any quest battles you guys would like to see in particular, whether it be with Ungrim or, Balthazar, whoever it may be, let me know and I'll work on getting those out first. But I'm excited to try and post some of those legendary quest battles for you guys. So again, have a great night, guys. Take care.